Percy, the star of the show tonight.
Go ahead. Now you can make fun. It's being recorded.
Okay, let's go. Yeah, it's late. Okay, Kuftas on beis. Okay, so we're up to Rav Galil Lemer and Miyun. See it? It's around 15 lines up from the bottom. So we said in the Mishna we're talking about two guys that are married to two girls. Right, one is a katana who got married off by her mother and her brothers, and one is a regular gedayla. So we have a few options. So Gamliel says what you do is you wait for her to she doesn't whatever, she doesn't have to do miyun. She could you wait till she's 12 and then they go out scot-free because it's two sisters. So to do yibum tachlis, it's no problem. It's a problem. So therefore they're going to be potter. So Bami Eliezer and Rav. Right. So they asked Rabbi Eliezer asked the Shalom, my time during what is Gamliel? Why does he say this? Right. Meaning, why does she go out without yibum or chalitza? Mishum tekasava kedusha katana mitla talu. Maybe he holds that the kedushin of a katana is hanging. Ichigadla godly bahada. And when she grows older, right, then she grows older together with the marriage, and it automatically happens. The marriage automatically happens when she becomes bas mitzvah. Right, avagav deloy baal. Even if there's no bia, meaning even if after she became bas mitzvah there was no bia, still she automatically becomes married. Or maybe he holds because when somebody marries his yivama, the sister of yivama, right? Then she becomes potter automatically. Ebal, but but that's only if they have bia, right? Eloi baal, but if he didn't have bia, then it's not. Then the yivama doesn't go free because lemaisa there was no kinyan. You need a new kinyan. Right, meaning we said that a katana, the marriage is a marriage. It only works with derabanan. When she's a gedayla, it works with dioyraysa, but there has to be a new kinyan. So basically, the first way the Gemara is asking is, does it happen automatically, the marriage? And the second way the Gemara is saying, no, it doesn't happen automatically. You need to do a kinyan. So Amalei, Hainu Tamadurim Galil, Mishum de Kasavan, Amakalish, Achais Yevima, Niftera Yevima, Bahalchala. She becomes potter and she goes, meaning she can't do the yibum. So it's only if they have actual bia after she's 12. If they don't have bia, then not. So Rav Sheshes, Amina, we had this terminology a few times. Amina kinayim v'shachiv Rav, Amar lahashmaitza. Rav said this over when he was falling asleep. Right? When he was like dozing off. The Tanya Makadash is a katana kedushin teluyan. Which says beferish, and when somebody is Makadash a katana, the kedushin is hanging. My teluyan. What does it mean hanging? Lav ki godla godle bahada, ba'avagav deloy baal. Isn't it talking about when she grew up by him, and even though there's no bia, she became an automatic gedayla, and then the marriage automatically happened.
What? Yeah, why do we say there was no bia? I don't understand.
No, we're not saying that there's no bia. We're just saying, do you dafka need a bia in order to make a kinyan, or does it happen automatically? Meaning, if there was a bia, that's gonna be a different shot later on.
I'm saying before when she's a katana.
No, the bia by katana it doesn't change anything. That's only a marriage derabanan. We're looking for a marriage dioyraysa. So there has to be a kinyan dioyraysa, which has to happen after she's bas mitzvah.
Okay.
That's what the Gemara is looking for.
Right? I still don't understand this, so it's fine.
You have to have a little bit of a warped mind.
Well, it's the third time with this guy. So I learned the Shabbos also. I went to Shia Shabbos.
Right. Yeah. It's
Hashem.
the hard thing. But basically, you need a new kinyan. Why is it picking on bia? I don't know. I guess he could do chuppah too. I guess it could do chuppah. Or yichud maybe. Right. Money not, because this is nesuin, not kedushin. Right. So Amalei, either way. So he says we have a beferish, my tluyin lavki godle godle ba'adav godle lebal. So it seems like it's beferish, not like what Rav said. Amalei Rav and Veder Rav Nachman, ha milsa katana mitlu tell you v'kaima. This that we said that a katana's hanging, he ball in, he loy ball loy. If he was ball in, not ball no. The amra who adif minoi fana difna minay. So this is interesting because she's gonna say she's not gonna have in mind that this guy's automatically gonna marry her. Right? Why? Because she's going to say, he's better than me because he could divorce me against my will, right? A man could divorce his wife whenever he wants. But I'm better than him, right? Because I could also, when I'm less than 12 years old, I could just walk out on him. That's the only scenario where a woman has more power over the man, but when it comes to divorce, right? So that's why she's not so confident that this marriage is going to necessarily work out. So the Gemara says, "V'sava Ravi bal ini loy ba'alo." Does Rav really hold that if they did not have bia after she was a bas mitzvah, they're not married with derabanan? V'hitmar, we learned katana shalei miyun, a katana who didn't do miyun vigdila, and she became bas mitzvah v'amda v'nisis, and she got up and married somebody else, and she never got a get. Rav Amar eina tzricha get sheni. Rav says she doesn't need a get from the second guy. Why not? She doesn't need a get from the second guy because the second, like we know, if a man marries a married woman, the kedushin is nothing. So he doesn't need a get from the second guy. So clearly Rav is saying that the marriage happened. So therefore, she is, but that's why the kedushin doesn't work. So she doesn't need a get from the second guy. You go over to a married woman and say, it's nothing. You don't need a get from her. The marriage is nothing. Right? So that's what it's saying. So by Rav saying you don't need a get, that means that he's saying that the first marriage is a legitimate marriage, even if there's no bia. Right? With Shmuel Amar tzricha get misheni, she does need a get from Sheni because he holds that the original marriage is not a marriage. My love, the loy bal. Aren't we talking about here where there was no bia? So the Gemara answers, loy the bal. We're talking about where there was bia. Either bal my time with the Shmuel. So if there's bia, then why does Shmuel say that she needs a get from the second guy? Why was the marriage not a good marriage? Because Shmuel holds that anybody who has bia after 12, they're doing it not for a new kinyan. They're doing it because that was their das bia, meaning that's a husband and wife living together. He didn't have in mind that he's being kind to her now, right? So therefore, he's there was never a official kinyan after, meaning he's saying Stambi is not an official kinyan because he didn't have in mind to do a kinyan with her. He just had in mind to sleep with her just the same way he was sleeping with her before. Right?
Excuse me, Siyak, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What is the kinyan? I mean, this guy gave her brother or her mother 50 grand. Like, what is that?
That's a kinyan derabanan.
Kinyan derabanan. But because he made the kinyan with a godly, he didn't make the kinyan with her.
No, he made the kinyan. No, yeah, but her.
He gave her brother 50 grand.
Correct, but this that they have the power to marry her off. It's only the father that has.
Okay, fine. Okay.
The derabanan, they don't. The dioyraysa, they don't have power. The derabanan didn't want girls becoming hefker, right? So they said we'll give the power to the mother and the brothers. So the Gemara says, Rav and Shmuel already had a machlokes one time before, right? The Itmar Kitcha Tanai. Let's say a man makes a kedushin on a Tanai, right? We had this quite a few times. He makes a condition that, I mean, really, we keep using the mushal that she makes him steak every night, but really, he's marrying on a condition that she doesn't come in with any nedarim, right? And that she doesn't have anything wrong with her body. The kansa, and then stam, and then he marries her stam, meaning he gets engaged to her with a tanai, but then he doesn't reiterate the tanai when he does nesuin. Rava matzricha heyman get. So the question is, did he plan on marrying her or not? And now she doesn't meet the requirements. Do they need a get or not? So Rav says, yeah, they need a get. But Shmuel Amar, ain't that tzricha heyman get? You don't need a get. Rav Amar tzricha get, given the nisba, since he got married, a chuli achle. So he obviously was Michael the Tanai. Since he got married without ever mentioning it, he must have been so enthralled with her when she got engaged. He figured he'll take her even if she comes with defects. right? Shmuel Amar ain't tzrichem and get. You don't need to get kol boil. Al das kedushin or rishonim boil. This that he was together with her after they got married. That's only on the kedushin rishonim. That's why he did it. So why do we need two times? Why do we need this machlokes of Rav and Shmuel twice? Once by a katana being married and once by a guy making t'nayim. So tzricho, no, we need it to eat marahi, because if it's gonna say by the t'nayim by hikam Rav, that's maybe where Rav said it, right? Mishum tana, because there was a t'nai, but given the ball achlil t'nai, and since he actually slept with her, which is the nesuin, right? Then he's Michael the T'nai. But here, let's say they to Shmuel, right? Because why should you think that his bia was for marriage? Be it Shmuel, so we say the opposite. So that's what we need to say both cases to make sure we have Ram and Shmuel's positions very clear. So then Marav called Baal call Kibal in Eli Baal. Does Rav really say that only if they have bia they considered married? If they didn't have bia, they're not married. He Uvda, they haven't been Neresh. There was a story in Neresh. And a man married her when she was a katana, right? Her mother and the brothers married her off. And then she became bas mitzvah. Right? We had that they put her onto the chair, the special kala chair. And then came along another guy and grabbed her away and was Makadish her. Right? Some nice fellow came on the way to the wedding. He intercepted her. This sounds like some soap opera. Right? On the way to the wedding, he intercepted her and he married her. Rabruna v'Rav Chananel, and Rabruna and Chananel Talmidid the Rav Hava Hasam. They were Talmidim Rav over there, but Lo get me basar, and they didn't require a get from the second guy, which means that they held that she's already married, right? So, and these are Talmidim of Rav, so it must be they went with their Rebbe, who holds that she must have automatically been married right when she became 12. But so how could Rav say not? In Neresh, the way they did it was they got married, then they went on this procession to the wedding hall. But the actual marriage happened before. I guess it was a private ceremony. They did a private ceremony before the major ceremony. Ravashi Omar.
Yaakov, by square, I mean, I think other Chassidim, but I know for sure by square, after the chuppah, the chassan and kala go home, I think to her parents' house, and they have a suda to get just the two of them. Then they come back after they eat that suda. They come back to the chasana.
Is that so?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so maybe the Neresh, maybe Square has been hugging of Neresh.
Maybe because of this Gemara. I never asked anybody.
Because they probably get married pretty young in Square, but I don't know if they do it at 12. Right? So anyway, so what happened is the marriage happened before. Ravashi Amar, who asa shaloik kahugan? Right? We had this the other day. Ravashi said he did it shaloik kahugan. This lady's on the way to her marriage, and this guy came along, and he jumped and he married her before she can get married. So since he did something improper, so they also did with him something improper. And the Rabbanan took the kedushin away from him. Right? So really, he was married, but the Rabbanan could be mafkiya kedushin, like we learned. The Rabbanan have the power, right? Because it says kedash Moshe Yisrael. So everybody's getting married based on the Rabbanan, and that's it. Some of the Ravina, the Ravashi, Tinach, the Kodesh Bekasa. That's good if he gave her money, and that's how he had kedushin, right? But Bebia Mai, Kodesh Bebia Mai. What about if he was Makadesh Bebia, right? So how do you take that back? A Bia is a Bia. So Gemara answers, Shavi Rabbanan Lebilas Nos. Yes, Anachanami. So his Bia was a Bia of Nos. So Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, halacha Rabbi Eliezer, the Eliezer, halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer, that we tell back in the Mishna again. When we wait for the girl to grow up and then there's no yibum, or do we say that we tell her to do miyun like this? The brother-in-law can do yibum. So we said halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer, that we tell her to do yibum. Halacha Rabbi Eliezer. Same thing. Rabbi Eliezer said the halacha is like the Rabbi Eliezer that we teach the girl below 12 to free her to just walk out on her husband, and then she's no longer married to him. Fine. Zok the Mishna. Yeah.
I just can't understand. My mom just can't understand this. Everybody likes to. I never did it, but everybody likes to quote Darchenoyam. I mean, this is Darchenoyam. She's lived. They've had Bia horrid because she was 8 years old. For 3.5 years, she's been having Bia with this fellow, and
Right.
then now get divorce him because he has to have Binyamin your sister. It's like
Right. Yeah, and a Hanami. It's hard. It's hard to understand. Unless, I mean, can they go back and get married after? I don't know. Can they go back and get married after or not? I'll close at 11. It's 20 minutes away. We're gonna only be there 15 minutes. Somebody who's married to two Yisai, yeah, Dr. Mishra Shemi, Shahaya Nasir Lishtei Yisaimas Katanas. Somebody is married to two Yisaimas Katanas, right? But they're not sisters, right? Two Yisaimas Katanas, not sisters, right? Umes, and then he died. Yeah, but again, the guy is married to two. Okay, it's one guy married to two sisters. Oh no, it's fine.
no.
What?
No,
I said they're not sisters.
they're not sisters. No, no,
Sorry, one guy, but it's one guy, not two brothers. That's the main point. I'm sorry. It's one guy married to two girls, not sisters Nachrias, but they're katanas and Yisaimas. You got to have a scorecard for this. I mean, right? So Umes, and then he died. So now what? So, but also chalitza shel achas men pateres tzarasa. So doing bia or chalitza to one of them is gonna pater, right? But when do you do it? Obviously, you have to wait. Rashi says you have to wait till they get older because we already said that we don't do this yibum a chalitza to katana, right? V'chein shtei chareshus, and same thing with two deaths, meaning the chiddush of both of these is like we said in the previous Mishnah, is that these are both marriages that are derabanan. Right? It's Kitana, but they're both the same, meaning both wives are in the first case Yisaimus Kitanas, and in the second case they're both deaf. But what happens if one is a Kitana and one is deaf? Right? So we're going to see in the Gemara. So now we don't know who would this guy rather be married to, a Kitana or a deaf girl. Who would somebody rather be married to? Again, a chareshes is above bas mitzvah. Would a guy rather be married to a girl over bas mitzvah, but she's deaf, or under bas mitzvah, but she's a katana? So we don't know who he'd prefer to be married, right? So then ain't bias achas me pateres sarasa. Then each one, the bias for one is not going to pater the tzara, right? So you have to see in the Gemara exactly what's going to go on over there. Pikachas v'chareshes. Let's say he married to a pikachas is a regular or smart person, v'chareshes and a deaf, right? But they're both over a bas mitzvah. Bias a pikachas peteres achareshes. The bia of a pikachas is going to pater the chareshes. Vein bias achareshes peteres as a pikachas, but the bia of a chareshes is not going to pater the pikachas. Why? Because a marriage to a deaf person is a derabanan. So how could you go say that a derabanan marriage, is going to make a woman who's married with dioyraysa potter from yibum? That can't work, right? Gedoyla katana, same thing. Gedoyla and a katana. So one is a marriage of a dioyraysa, one is a marriage of the derabanan. Bias a gedoyla pateres a katana. The bia of the gedoyla pater a katana. Pain bias a katana pateres a gedoyla, and the bia of the katana is not going to pater the gedoyla, right? So basically, you have to know with the cheshbonis whether these marriages are derabanan marriages or dioyraysa marriages. The Gemara asks, "V'chareshes bas chalitza." It's mashma in the Mishnah that you could do chalitza to a deaf person, right? We said that you can't do chalitza to a deaf person. V'tanan cheresh nechlets. If a cheresh had chalitza, v'chareshes shecholza, or if what do you call it? I'm sorry, the first one is a male. The male, the brother-in-law, doing the chalitza was deaf, or she was deaf. And somebody gets chalitza from a katan, chalitza sapsula. The chalitza is pasul. So how can you say that you're doing chalitza to a deaf person? So Rav Gidul Amarav, Abiyah. It's not talking about chalitza. It's only going on the bia. Right? So the bia could work. The reason why it doesn't work, chalitza doesn't work with a deaf, is because they can't hear the psukim, right? We said as a technical point, they can't read, they can't hear the psukim. So, but bia they could do. Rava Amar afilu tema chalitza, could even going on chalitza. Kan bechareshes meikara. One is talking about where she's a chareshes from the beginning. She got married when she was deaf. Kan bekachas nischarsha. And one is talking about where she was bekacha, she was regular, and then she became deaf. Chareshes meikara. Right? Somebody who could be deaf from the beginning. Meaning the same way she got married, she couldn't hear when she got married, right? If she was deaf by the marriage, how did he tell her he wants to marry her? So he has to signal to her, right? So but if she was regular and then she became deaf, then that doesn't work. Because the kriya, the psukim of chalitza, they can't do. Meaning, if she was deaf in the first place, however they communicated in the marriage, meaning getting married, is the same way they could communicate the chalitza. But not if she was went into the marriage regular, then they communicated regularly. So we don't know how they were able to communicate with the chalitza. So Abaya had a kasha. Now the Gemara is going to ask for the rest of the Amud, for the rest of this Amud and the whole next Amud Kimat, all about trying to disprove this point that somebody who goes into the marriage healthy and then becomes deaf, that they can't do chalitza. That's the big old Gemara. And the Gemara is going to pretty much bring an entire Mishna, which is going to be in Monday's Daf Be'ez Hashem. An entire Mishna is going to ask from all the different scenarios of this Mishna. So Eisvei Abaya, v'chareshes meikara bas chalitza. Is somebody chareshes meikara? Is she considered a bas chalitza? I'm sorry, I said the kasha was on the other one. The kasha is on that can a girl who's deaf actually do chalitza? But tonight we learned in the Mishna shnei achen echad bikeach v'echad cheresh. You have two brothers. One is regular. And we're calling it regular. The literal translation bikeach means smart. Right, so two brothers. One is a bikeach and one is a cheresh. Nisuin l'shtei nachriyos. They're married to two non-sisters, two strangers. Achas bikachas v'achas chereshes. One is a bikeach and one is a chereshes. And the Gemara doesn't say that it's hooked up, meaning it's the one that could hear is married to the one that could hear, and the one that can't hear is married to the one that can't hear. But Rashi says that's what it is. So each one is married to the same type. Then meis cheresh bal chereshes. Right, the one when the Gemara says it here, but the Gemara didn't say it before. So meis cheresh bal chereshes. If the husband who was deaf died, ma yasa bikeach bal pikachas. What is the pikeach who's the husband of the pikachas? What's he supposed to do? Kindness, right? If he could marry her, meaning he could do yibum. And if he wants to do chalitza, he could give her a get, right? Meaning the same way they're going to do the yibum, whatever the process of getting married, so they could do this process of getting divorced. Meis pikeach ba pikachas. If the pikeach, who's the smart one, is the one that died, ma yasa cheresh bal chereshes. What is the deaf guy supposed to do? Kindness. He can marry her, but he can't get rid of her. Right? Why? Because they can't. Because how's he going to get rid of how's he going to do it? Right? Because there's the second marriage is the derabanan marriage, not a dioyraysa marriage. Because he really dioyraysa, you can't marry a deaf woman. My love, bechareshes meikara. Isn't this Mishna talking about this beis I'm talking about? Is talking about with she was deaf from the beginning. For katani kindness in.
I don't understand. So there's a marriage that you can marry but you can't get out of?
Yes, that's exactly what this case would be. Yeah, because it's a combination. It's a yibum. It's not marriage. It's
right.
yibum. Yeah. Yeah,
but he
that's
can't
what
get out of it.
cannot get out of
But I
it.
thought yibum. Didn't we say yibum a bunch of times is one and out?
Yes, but you still have to get you're divorced.
Huh?
You still have to get divorced. You know,
So
you can't.
it's not one and out.
Even if we say that it is one and out, they still have to get divorced.
But they can't get divorced in this case. So what do?
Can't. So he stays married to two wives. That's
So
right.
even in this case, it's not one and out.
You don't. It doesn't mean that we allow him to have the again.
So then she's in limbo. She's in aguna for the rest of her life.
Yeah, l'chayra. That's a good point. Yeah, that's what it's saying.
This is a local lemaisa these days. If a guy's married and the woman becomes mentally unable or competent, can he divorce her?
No, you're right. That is a big issue. This happens nebuch if a woman goes into a coma or something, right? So and the guy wants to go on with his life. So how does he do that? Right? Like, yeah, it's a terrible thing, but yeah, that's exactly. So anyway, so the Gemara is saying, "Ma'ila b'chareshes meikora," talking about where she was a chareshes in the beginning, but Tani kindness in, he can marry her. Chalitza, you can't do chalitza. Why? Now, how come you can't do chalitza? Because you can't read the psukim with her, right? So Gemara answers, "Loy b'pikachas v'achakach nischarsha." No, somewhere where, huh? So loy b'pikachas v'achakach nischarsha. It's talking about where she was smart, and then afterwards she became deaf, right? So Tashima, then an Gemara brings another right. Yeah, Tashima, Shnei Achen Pikhin, these are all from the Mishna in on Kuf Yud Beis Amud Beis, a massive Mishnah on Kuf Yud Beis Amud Beis. So if we do this now, then Kuf Yud Beis Amud Beis, Daf should go very fast. Right, so Tashima, Shnei Achen, there's all these scenarios, every little nuance of these scenarios of deaf husbands and wives is going to be going on over here. There's basically 5 different scenarios that the Gemara discusses. So, Tashma, Shnei Achin Pichin, you have 2 brothers. And by the way, if I make a mistake describing the cases, please let me know. Right? So, Shnei Achin Pichin, if you have 2 brothers regular brothers, Nesu and Shtei Nachrias, and they're married to 2 women, not related. Achas Pikachas, Vachas Chareshes. In this case, one's wife is deaf and one is not. Meis pikeach balachareshes, and then the smart, how does it go? The husband who was not deaf, who was married to the deaf woman, he died. So ma yasa pikeach.
One second, both were not deaf. The
Both
brothers were
right.
pikchivim. So what do you mean?
Right.
Pikech?
No. One of the wives.
One of the brothers.
One of the brothers died. The one that was married to the deaf one died.
Okay.
Right? So ma yasa pikeach bal pikachas. What is the pikeach, who's the bal of a pikacha, supposed to do? Kindness, right? He has to right to lahaitzi, and if he wants to divorce her, he can. Ma pikeach bal pikacha, make pikeach bal pikachas. If the pikeach who's married to a regular woman, ma yasa pikeach bal charesh. What does the pikeach bal charesh do? So then that's a standard marriage, right? He does either chalitza or yibum. Now, what is the case in the Reisha? My love, midahu pikeach meikara, he navi chareshes meikara. If he was a pikeach in the beginning, so she's also pikeach in the beginning. Vikatani kindness in chalitza, and we learned you can get married, but you can't do chalitza. Right, so it must be because you can't do chalitza to somebody who's deaf. So when it says the area, who says that's true? Who says that the man has to be the same as the woman? Right? Who says they both have to have an equal thing? Meaning, we're assuming that the man was deaf from the beginning of marriage, so too the wife was deaf from the beginning of marriage. Who says maybe she became deaf? Imagine everybody's going to say it's our romance, right? He gets married, he's deaf. Well, no, that's, how does it go? Yeah. No, because it's it would be the wrong case. Fine. So the area, hakadisa. One is like this and one is like this, meaning they don't have to have the same scenario. Right? Fine. Next case. Eisvei shnei achin, 2 brothers, echad pikeach v'echad cheresh. So now here we got 2 brothers, one could hear, one can't hear. Nistu and shtei achayas, married to two sisters, achas b'kachas, achas chareshes. Right? And again, this is the same case as Amud Aleph, where they're both married, the similar ones are married to each other. The regular to the regular and the deaf to the deaf. Mace.
Min b'min. Min b'min.
Mina, exactly. Right? They probably went to the special shatchanim that have expertise in people with medical issues. Right? There are shatchanim out there like that. So anyways, so Meis Cheresh Bal Chareshes. So if the Cheresh, the deaf one died, Ma Yasabikeach Bal Pikachas, what does the husband of the one who's married to a smart one do? Teitze Mishum Achos Isha. Right? Because again, these are sisters here. Right? So she goes out because of Achos Isha, right? It's a double erva. Meis Pikeach Bal Pikachas.
Why Teitze? She's potter.
Well, that's what it means.
Teitze usually means you get.
You mean, I don't know. I don't think that's what it means here. I think it just means she goes away. She goes out.
Question, why'd you fix your phone? It was so nice when you couldn't unmute.
I have no idea what is going on right now. I don't know why my phone isn't working.
I saw the frustration and I mamish had a gewalt from it.
You didn't even need the l'chaim for that one.
Yeah. So anyways, so she goes out because of Achos Isha. Ma pikeach. I'm sorry, I keep saying the same thing. Meis pikeach bal pikachas. If the pikeach who's married to the pikachas, ma yaseh cheresh bal chareshes. So what should the cheresh, the husband, the owner, it's true, but with being politically correct, right? The one who's owned by his wife. I'm sorry. No, so ma yaseh cheresh bal chareshes. So what does the deaf one? What does the deaf one do? Might see as ishtay beget. He divorces his wife with a get. And then his wife can't get married forever. Meaning the other wife. Meaning why? Because the whole marriage was only a derabanan. Right? But his brother's is a dioyraysa. Right? So therefore, when the good brother dies, the one that's regular, so she has a zika to the brother-in-law forever from a derabanan, right? Right. So because of that, it's not a chalitza. Derabanan is not a chalitza. Yeah, fine. So therefore, what exactly are you going to do here? So it's only a derabanan. So Mela, he's stuck. And if you're going to say, okay, so here too, but just talking about where first they were good and then they became a cheresh. Mi matzi mafik. Can a person get divorced? Can a deaf person get divorced? But tanan nischarsha, if a woman became deaf, yaitzi, he can divorce her. Nishtatis, but if she becomes a shaita, la yaitzi, right? Like we were saying before, Avi, la yaitzi. Nischarsha hua nishtata. If he became deaf or he became a sugar, la yaitzi alams, he can never get divorced. Elalav becheresh meikara. So must be that song about where he was deaf in the beginning. Would have a cheresh meikara? I'm sorry, with the who cheresh meikara, when he's a cheresh meikara, he nami chereshes meikara. She's also a cheresh in the beginning. And when you have sisters, right? When it says sisters, they're both deaf from the beginning. So the nachrias are also deaf from the beginning. V'tanan nami nachrias. We said nachrias kindness in chalitza, so they can only get married. They can't do chalitza. So again, you see that there can't be chalitza done to somebody who's deaf. So the Gemara asks, Ishtik, he was quiet, which sounds like he's maida. So then Kiyasa l'kamid Rav Yosef, when they came in front of Rav Yosef, Amalei, my time at Taisvei Meha, why are you asking him here? The Yachal Shnuel, I'll give you a teretz. Achayis Charashis Meikara, the sisters who are deaf from the beginning, Nachrias Pikchos V'achakach Nescharshu. But the Nachrias, the ones that are not sisters, is talking about where they were smart in the beginning and then they became deaf. So therefore, that would be the teretz, meaning the previous kasha was. I hope it sounds like that I know what I'm talking about, because every time I look at this, I think I do know what I'm talking about. Then I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like I get talk about mashuga. I have like chas v'shalom, but like a bipolar thing. Like sometimes I got it, sometimes I don't got it. So I don't know, whatever. But anyways, so the assumption with the kasha was that the nachrias and the sisters are all the same. They're all the same case. But we're saying no. Who says the nachrias have to be the same case, right? So therefore, that would be a teretz. You should have asked from here. Two deaf brothers marry two sisters who are regular. Or two sisters. Or two sisters. One could hear, one can't hear. Or two sisters who are deaf. Are married to two brothers who could hear, or to two brothers who are deaf, or to two brothers, one is a pikeach and one is a cheresh. They are potter from chalitza and yibum. But if they're nachriyos, then they can get married. And if they want to get divorced, then they can get divorced. And if we're talking about people that were regular and then they became deaf, can they get divorced? But tonight we learn the status if they became stupid, right? They cannot. The husband can't divorce his wife. Nischarish, who and if I'm sorry, if she became a shaita, right? Then lo yotzi, he cannot divorce her. Nischarish, who if he became a cheresh or a shaita, lo yotzi alamis. He can't ever get divorced. He can't divorce his wife ever. Elalav acharshin meikara. Must be talking about where they were deaf from the beginning. And with the hein charshin meikara, and if they, right, the men are deaf from the beginning, in who nami charshin meikaras, so then they're also cheresh from the beginning. Vikatani im hayu nachrias yichnaisu in yichlot zaloi. It's only if they're nachrias, but if they're not nachrias, I'm sorry, if they were nachrias yikansu, they get married, and only they get married, but they can't do chalitza. So tiyufta, tiyufta, it's a kasha on Rava, right? That somebody who was deaf from the beginning of marriage could do chalitza, and we slug him up and we say they can't do chalitza. Fine. Should we stop here? Yeah, I guess we'll stop here because the next sugya goes on to the next Amud. Fine. I hope this.
The song of the Daf Charashah.
Who?
Song of the Daf. It's Charashah.
Charashah? Oh, Charashah. Very good. Very good. We might do early tomorrow, like 7:30. Does that work for the Olam? Like before Mincha Ma'ariv? Does that work?
I'm in.
No, 7:30 is awesome. 7 o'clock is appropriate for me, so 7:30 is the best.
Okay, so I'll post it out for sure, but l'chayra 7:30 tomorrow. All right.
Ashikaya.
Okay. Good luck. Good
Good
luck.
luck.